So, back. Oh. I asked on some Facebook groups if someone had a Neo 3 because I wanted to take a look at it. And Samuel was so nice to send me a broken pair of a Neo 8. It's not a Neo 3, but still, it's still nice to see how it works. Also, I never just had one in my hands, and I've seen them for many years, but never bought one. And now it's kind of hard to buy even one, I believe. In the Netherlands, for sure. Since there is no Parts Express. And the Neo 3, for instance, is, I don't know, all out of stock. But this is the Neo 8. And first of all, I noticed these holes are quite big, and the distance between the holes is way bigger than I've seen in pictures and such. Also, the distance from these holes is also a little bit thicker. But I believe it is a little bit thicker than the Neo 3, so still, because it's not a Neo 3, I am not sure. But anyhow, let's I removed or got it apart already because I was very curious, of course. So, but I can still show you what's up, what it is, and what surprised me and such. So this is the other half. I attached some wires, very ugly, but it's the only way to do it. So with some sort of strain relief, because otherwise I ripped the foil. This one Neo he sent me because it was intermittent, or when I got it, it didn't have any resistance at all. So I was quite sure it broke at the contact points, because it's a kind of yeah, it's a thing that can die easily. If you solder it too long or heat it up too long, it will screw it up, it will break. As well as if you overdrive it, it's likely it will break there as well. Or if it's corroded, it's likely it is corroded over there at these points. So they now look even worse than it was before. But I can assure you it wasn't pretty before I used flux and such to somehow get at least a connection so I could measure it or see what the panel did before I probably scrap it, because it's not, my intent was not getting cheap Neos and use them. So it's purely because I'm interested how these particular panels work. Not to copy it, but just because they do stuff differently, and it might, some stuff they do might just be something I didn't know and I do completely different all the time, which is maybe not even needed. Who knows? Ah well. First of all, the frame. The frame is really, it's a very nice design actually. To me, on the pictures, it always looked far more flimsier than it actually is. The metal is 1.3 or 1.4 millimeter thick, so quite thick actually. And it's really, this is amazing how sturdy this is. It's no wonder, I mean, it's metal, and with a few bends it gets stronger and stronger actually. All due to this ridge here makes it stronger in this direction, so you cannot twist it easily. So that's really good. As you can see, both sides are completely the same. Here's where the connector was, and here on this side it has the same holes. So it can be used as a backside or a front side, doesn't really matter. What they did is actually put a glob of epoxy in there to seal these holes, so you wouldn't look at the actual connection and maybe screw it over. Let's try to kind of adjust this a little bit. That's far more better. This is better. It was way too light anyway. So yeah, just the frame itself is really sturdy. It's nice. they used rivets to hold the whole assembly together. One thing you will notice straight from the bat is that they didn't take care much about this magnet being not where it's supposed to be. It's not a huge deal, but it's just if you're gonna look inside and think, oh, that's not, oh, what the fuck is this? What I think happened is they did align it nicely and such, and then when they riveted and such, the glue wasn't actually dry yet, and then they moved. Because it is the right position here, but it isn't here, because these two magnets don't want to be exactly be as close as they are. So I think the glue was just not dry enough. But yeah, then they use this kind of felt, and this is, for me, this is where making stuff, sometimes you actually you have in your mind, you know what you need, like this sort of felt. I had it in my mind for a long time, and I used some weird napkins and such to replace it, but this is what I had in mind all the time, because I've seen it at some places or somewhere and I just don't know where. And then the biggest problem is I have no clue how it's called. Is it felt? Is it very thin felt? I don't know, non-woven, whatever, you know. That's the hardest part of always making this kind of stuff yourself, that you know what kind of material you need. You know how it looks, you know how it feels, but you just have no clue what the name is of the stuff. And sometimes you don't know where it is used for normally. So, because if you know where it is used normally, it might give a clue where you can get it, of course. But you cannot look for felt for planar loudspeakers, for instance. That's not gonna work, pretty sure. But this material is the same. I was pretty sure I've felt this material before, and I digged in my memory. And I don't know if it is correct yet, because I didn't receive the goods yet, but what I think, it feels like the same stuff that is sometimes used on the underside of a couch to, well, not look at springs and such. It kind of, I have the same feeling. And then you might ask, why the fuck do you know? I don't know, probably as a kid I liked to go underneath the couch, and I don't know, with friends of mine we just robbed the whole Christmas tree from chocolates, and then we were sitting there eating them because my sister couldn't reach it. Maybe that's the reason. Or the reason might be that I replaced or fixed some of the springs a few times of this couch, and then you have to remove this stuff, of course. I think that's the reason, but the other story might be nicer. But yeah, thanks to Samuel I got this for, I know it was broken, of course, or is still broken, but for only the shipping cost, so I'm pretty pleased with that, so thank you. And if anyone has a PDR3 or Neo 3 that is broken or something, please let me know. I would be interested to take a look. And it could be also fun for the channel to take a look at some of these stuff. Why not? Sort of how it's made thing. The magnets, very nice magnets. This is another surprise for me. I really thought they used thicker magnets. I even thought they might be using 3mm magnets, but actually, that's where having one in your hand is really nice. On pictures it looks different, and you're biased as what you expect as well. But these magnets are 1.5mm thick. Might be slightly off that they use some sort of imperial sizes, that could be, but so 1.5, 5mm wide and 50mm long. So that's kind of weird. That's really thin. It's not that much magnet, to be honest. I'm pretty sure they are N52 or something, at least a high grade, because they are quite magnetic and really thin, so I don't know. I think a highish grade, probably. And it used quite a lot, of course. I can imagine if you're this kind of company, you buy these in quite a big quantity, I think. So, but yeah, it's just, man, it's so nicely done. This is typically something I would love would love it was my idea. But I'm too late to the party, and I'm looking at these because as for inspiration. So yeah, I think they did it well. Well done. Okay, then you have the connectors. This is something I don't like that much. You have these connector pins, and what I think, it's sitting on the back, and I'll show you it on the wrong panel, but it sits like this. And then they put it in probably after you foiled the whole thing. And then so it's sitting really close to the mylar, and then they just burn through the mylar and solder it with some sort of special solder that will solder aluminum. But yeah, it is quite easily to fuck up, of course. But they do mention it in the data sheet as well. Like, you don't need or should not use too much heat because it will fuck up the thing. Then the foil, and that is kind of weird. This is a lot of... Ooh, I didn't know that. First of all, I noted somewhere along the way that I didn't see any tapes on the sides of these coils, and I said, well, if I use tapes on the sides, the distortion is so much lower. They really should use that. That's kind of weird they don't. I'm not sure if they... It looked like they didn't use it in the Neo 3, but in this one they did. And that's the tape that you cannot remove. The really annoying shitty tape. But there is tape, so that's funny to see. They have again this one trace that's going in the wrong direction. I just etched some of my foils for the tiny version with this same feature. I already did before, but with the versions before, this trace will be really close to the spacers. These last panels are a little bit wider, so, and I never tried it, so I wonder if it makes any difference, but we'll see. So they use tape here, they use tape here, here, and also over the contacts, which was annoying because I had to peel it back, but it only comes off in tiny flakes. Not nice. It measures 3.5 ohms DC, and it feels like it's a pretty thick track. And what is also very interesting is I really have to push quite hard to push it against the magnets. This tension on this foil is extremely high, I can imagine. It doesn't sound like it's honky. It doesn't sound honky, to be honest. It sounds quite damped. That's pretty nice. Of course, it's also because this felt stuff is here. But it, it doesn't. Let me show. Maybe I have an example here. Yeah. Ow. It doesn't sound like this. Of course, it never will because this panel is really tiny. But this sounds like a drum. This, not so much. If I do the same without fucking up the wires, I hope. Not much happening there. So it's because, of course, because there is metal on the backside and there is felt on the backside, and it has some mass. And this is a completely open frame, but still, it is not as noisy as I expected it to be. If you look at the very big fat tension on this thing. I measured it real quick, and it is 350 Hertz resonance, which doesn't sound that that high. It feels much higher, but then again it is quite wide. The foil actually extends to here, this whole piece. It's even wider than the tweeter panel, and the PDR3, for instance, is slightly smaller as well in the width. If you look at the front to a PDR or a Neo 3, this is the same, but this side, this piece here, is less wide in the tweeters. So even if their tension as high, the resonance of this one will be lower. So yeah, but this is actually, it feels like magneton kind of tensions. Pretty. There's no way the magnets are ever gonna be hit by the panel, because that's also funny. This height is 3 millimeters. The magnet is 1.5, so it's really, it has 1.5 millimeter excursion. Well, in theory, but with this tension, it's never gonna reach that. I'm pretty sure you will fry the whole thing before you even get there. So yeah, that's probably because a little bit lower tolerances or more room gives you room for sloppier tolerances and not much problems in the end. So yeah, quite nice. Then I expected to measure something here, and I'm not sure. There was one person, and I forgot the name. I think he mentioned something like insulating the coil. Now on most, for instance, ribbons and such, it's not insulated, I'm pretty sure. They're not gonna add a layer of whatever, if you're talking milligrams. I'm pretty sure it's not insulated. I'm pretty sure the quasi-ribbon of the magnet pens and such are not insulated either. But I'm pretty sure, I assume, to be honest. But hell, I assume this one wasn't either, and it actually is. So that's kind of weird. I'm not sure what it is. It might be that it is corrosion itself that is shielding it, or they did use some sort of crap they sprayed over it or something, but I cannot measure it straight away. I really have to scrape a little bit before I can measure the resistance. So that was a big surprise. But if you feel it, it doesn't feel like a very light membrane, I can tell you. Also, if it was very thin mylar, there's no way you're gonna get this kind of tension on it. If you have 3 micron mylar or something, or 6, I wish you the best of getting this high tension. 6 might be possible, but 3, nah, no way. So they used, I think, something over the coil as well to shield it or protect it against corrosion, I don't know. But on the other hand, aluminum would be kind of safe for a pretty decent time. So I'm not sure why they did it. Might be the weight itself and the fact that it protects it a little bit. So there might be 2 reasons why they did it. Maybe the foil is less noisy if you coat it with something like acrylic, for instance, maybe, or any conformal coating stuff that is a good insulator and has, well, more like a gummy dampening thing. It doesn't get hard. You need something that remains a bit flexible. So yeah, when you remove these panels, if you ever do, what I did is use a lot of clamps like that and clamped it all around the panel before you drill out all these rivets, because it will snap together. If they're all out, then the panel will shift and it will snap together quite hard, and you might break some magnets off or fuck up your foil, or So secure it before you remove the rivets. By the looks of it, there are holes here, so it would be very easy to just put some bolts in here and then remove all the rivets. That might be even better actually than this. But this was pretty fast. Is there anything else to say about this? Nah, not really. Well, it's 3.5 ohm, so this aluminum is quite thick. So yeah. Oh, I measured one and it is single-ended. So I'm not sure how it will gonna look in push-pull mode, but single-ended it reaches almost 20k. It falls off a little bit. That's kind of surprising. And you don't see the huge peak you get probably when you have it in push-pull. But we'll see about that. So far I'm pretty impressed by a lot of things about them. Really like it. Cool design. I mean, it's if you got the machinery, that is, it's just a piece of metal that is dirt cheap. But yeah, you do need a gazillion ton press to press this in. At the same time, something to die cut or whatever, press all these holes, preferably in one go. Well, if it can make this full, it can press these holes probably as well. But yeah, very cool. That's the Neo 8. Hope you enjoy it, and oh well, please do subscribe if you're not subscribed yet. I'm trying to reach the 1000 before the end of the year. Almost there, only 50 to go, I believe, which is really nice. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna or are able to answer them all. I mean, nah, I'm learning as well, so I might have the answer, maybe not. You never know. If anyone has a Neo 3 that is broken down, I would be interested. Just to have a peek, because it's fun and you learn something. Okay, see you around.